In the Royal Palace of Madrid, there's a staircase that still has a name. They call it La Escalera Fernandina, Ferdinand's staircase. It's the door Ferdinand VII used to sneak out of the palace at night, disguised in a cloak, to visit the brothels of Madrid, while his teenage wife sat alone in the royal chambers, while his subjects called him El Deseado, the desired one. 4 women married this man. All 4 were named Maria. 2 died before they turned 22. One was so terrified on her wedding night that the Pope had to write her a personal letter to convince her that sex with her husband wasn't a mortal sin. And the 4th survived only because doctors invented a medical device to make intercourse physically possible. This is the king Spain fought a war to bring home. And this is what he did to the women who were delivered to his bed. Let's get something clear immediately. Ferdinand VII was not impotent. That's the myth, that he couldn't. The Marquis of Villa Urrutia, a contemporary chronicler, writes something very different. Ferdinand, he says, did not enjoy the company of ladies at court. He preferred prostitutes, and not discreetly. He went out at night with the Duke of Aragon and his entourage, fully cloaked, through that staircase, and headed for the brothels of central Madrid. His favorite was the house of Pepa la Malagueña, on Calle Ave María, near the Puerta de Alcalá. He reportedly fell in love with Pepa herself, the madam of the establishment. He wasn't incapable. He was selective. And once you understand what his body actually looked like, the selection starts to make a very different kind of sense. In 1802, 17-year-old Princess Maria Antonia of Naples and Sicily arrived in Spain to marry Ferdinand, who was also 17. She was intelligent, multilingual, and described by a witness as a worthy granddaughter of Maria Theresa of Austria. She was also walking into one of the most dysfunctional courts in Europe. Ferdinand's mother, Queen Maria Luisa, openly kept a lover, the Prime Minister, Manuel Godoy, who essentially ran Spain. Ferdinand despised them both. Here's what you won't find in most versions of this story. Maria Antonia was not a passive bride shipped to a stranger's bed. She became Ferdinand's political ally. She encouraged him to stand up against his mother and Godoy. She navigated the factions of the Spanish court with an instinct that people around her noticed. In public, she and Ferdinand looked like a united front, 2 teenagers against a corrupt machine. In private, it was a different marriage entirely. Maria Antonia's mother, Queen Maria Carolina of Naples, kept a detailed record of her daughter's intimate life through letters. Months after the wedding, she wrote, "The husband is not yet a husband, and does not seem to have the desire or the capacity to become one." A year later, "My daughter is desperate. Her husband is entirely stupid, not even a physical husband, and on top of that, a bore who does nothing and never leaves his room." 11 months passed before Ferdinand attempted to consummate the marriage. Maria Antonia suffered 2 miscarriages. And here's where the story turns from political drama into something far darker. Modern sources suggest that Ferdinand suffered from genital macrosomia, an abnormal enlargement likely caused by generations of Bourbon inbreeding. The medical historian Luis Comenge y Ferrer, citing a prominent urologist, wrote that Ferdinand's anatomy was of dimensions far larger than ordinary, which was attributed to his failure to produce heirs with his first 3 wives. The French writer Prosper Mérimée, who claimed to have seen it described at autopsy, called it thin as a stick of sealing wax at the base and thick as a fist at the extremity. Read that again. This wasn't a gift. This was a weapon shaped by inbreeding, wielded by a man whom Encyclopedia.com describes as someone who found sardonic satisfaction in all kinds of petty acts of cruelty. So Maria Antonia was fighting two wars, one against Godoy in the corridors of power, and one against her own husband's body in the bedroom. She was losing both. She died in 1806 at the Royal Palace of Aranjuez. She was 21. According to several sources, she may have died a virgin. Her mother believed she'd been poisoned by Maria Luisa and Godoy. Modern historians say tuberculosis. Ferdinand didn't mourn long. But we'll get to that. A decade passed. Ferdinand spent most of it imprisoned in France by Napoleon, comfortably at the Château de Valençay, writing letters congratulating Napoleon on his victories, while Spanish soldiers died fighting to bring him home. When he returned to Madrid in 1814, the crowds wept in the streets. They called him El Deseado, the desired one. They had no idea what they were welcoming back. He needed a wife. The choice was Maria Isabel of Braganza, a Portuguese princess. She was his niece. On her wedding day, the crowd in Madrid greeted her with a chant that became famous. Fea, pobre y portuguesa, chúpate esa. Ugly, poor, and Portuguese. Suck on that. That was Spain's welcome to a 20-year-old bride. Here's what they won't tell you about this marriage. By this point, Ferdinand had discovered the brothels. Villa Urrutia writes that he went out nightly, disguised, with the Duke of Alagon, to engage in what the Marquise delicately describes as certain sports that Muslims practice inside the harem. That was 19th century code, the most explicit language a chronicler could use without being censored. Whatever Ferdinand couldn't or wouldn't do with his wife, he did elsewhere. Repeatedly. Publicly enough that it became common knowledge. Maria Isabel became pregnant twice. Both times, according to contemporary sources, she suffered internal injuries likely caused by the king during intercourse. During her final delivery, the doctors believed she had died and began a cesarean section to extract the child. Maria Isabel woke up during the procedure. She screamed. And then she died. She was 21. Ferdinand's response was not grief. It was the staircase, night after night after night. This is the part of the story that would be unbelievable if it weren't documented by multiple sources, including Mérimée, the historian Francisco González Doria, and José Antonio Vidal Sales. In 1819, Ferdinand married for the third time. The bride was Maria Josefa Amalia of Saxony. She was 15 years old. She had been raised in a convent near the Elbe River by nuns. She was deeply, fervently Catholic. And nobody, not her father, not the nuns, not the diplomats who arranged the marriage, had told her what sex was. Wait, that's not even the worst part. According to Mérimée and corroborated by González Doria, on the wedding night, Ferdinand entered her chambers completely naked. Maria Josefa, who had no idea what was expected of her, ran screaming from the room. She was brought back by Ferdinand's sister-in-law, the Infanta Maria Francisca. But by this point, the girl was so terrified that she lost control of her bodily functions. Ferdinand, enraged, left the room. The marriage was not consummated for a long time. When Ferdinand insisted on his conjugal rights, Maria Josefa would beg him, "Why don't we pray a rosary instead, Fernandito?" She told her attendants, "What the king wants from me is a mortal sin." According to Vidal Sales, she trembled with anguish and terror every time the king entered her room and removed his clothes. Let me say that differently. A 15-year-old girl, raised by nuns, was placed in a bedroom with a man whose body had already destroyed 2 women, and her only defense was a prayer. The situation became so extreme that it required the personal intervention of Pope Pius VII, who wrote Maria Josefa a letter explaining that sexual relations between spouses were not contrary to Catholic morality, and reminding her of her duty to the crown, the Pope, wrote a letter to convince a terrified teenager that she had to sleep with her husband. Vidal Sales writes that after the papal letter, Maria Josefa submitted, but only after praying the entire rosary first, every time, for 10 years. He adds, "In the 10 years this marriage lasted, Ferdinand VII prayed more rosaries than in the rest of his entire condemned life. The marriage produced no children. Maria Josefa withdrew from public life almost entirely. Bullfights made her nauseous. Cannon salutes terrified her. Court receptions gave her hives. She died in 1829 at 25, after sudden fevers. 3 wives. 2 dead at 21. 1 dead at 25. And behind them all, the same staircase, the same cloak, the same brothel waiting at the bottom." If you think this story deserves to be told properly, not just the political version, but the human one, hit subscribe. Because it gets stranger. 4 months after Maria Josefa's death, Ferdinand's personal physician, Pedro Castelló y Ginesta, recommended that the king remarry immediately, not out of sentiment, out of medical concern for what Castelló called the king's exalted sexuality. Ferdinand himself wrote to a friend, "Castelló says my pulse is as strong as before, and that I need to marry as soon as possible." He was 45. The bride was Maria Cristina of the Two Sicilies. She was 23. She was Ferdinand's niece, the daughter of his own sister. And unlike every woman before her, Maria Cristina came prepared. She knew about Ferdinand's condition. She knew about the destroyed marriages. She knew about the nights at Pepa la Malagueña's brothel. And she went to the palace doctors with a practical question. How do I survive this? The doctor's solution was a perforated cushion, 3 or 4 centimeters thick, with a hole in the center, designed to act as a buffer during intercourse and prevent the internal injuries that had killed or traumatized her predecessors. It was, by every account, crude. But it worked. Maria Cristina became pregnant. On October 10, 1830, she gave birth to a daughter, Isabella. Ferdinand, desperate for an heir after 4 marriages, changed the Salic law to allow women to inherit the throne. His brother Carlos, who had been next in line, was furious. And just like that, a perforated cushion and a changed law split Spain in 2. Ferdinand died in 1833. The Carlist Wars began immediately, 3 devastating conflicts that fractured Spain for the rest of the century, with echoes reaching all the way to Franco's Civil War in the 1930s, where Carlists fought on the fascist side. Most channels will tell you the Carlist Wars were about politics. They were, but they were also about a cushion, a body deformed by inbreeding, and 4 women named Maria who paid the price for a dynasty's desperation. Here's what every version of this story gets wrong. They center it on Ferdinand's anatomy, the giant penis, the medical curiosity. Mary May's quote gets repeated in every article, every podcast, every listicle about weird royal facts. And that framing makes it a punchline. It wasn't a punchline. It was a delivery system. The system selected teenage girls. Diplomats approved them. Families shipped them across borders. Priests blessed the bed. And when the girls broke, physically, psychologically, or both, the system replaced them. Nobody stopped the deliveries after the first death, or the second, or the third. The first, Maria fought back politically and lost. The second, Maria endured and died on an operating table. The third, Maria prayed and withered. The fourth, Maria asked the doctors how to survive and brought a cushion to bed. And the Pope? He didn't write to Ferdinand telling him to leave his wife alone. He wrote to a 15-year-old girl telling her to submit. That's not a story about a man with an unusual body. That's a story about a machine that processed women as raw material for succession and discarded the ones that broke. Maria Antonia, dead at 21, possibly a virgin. Maria Isabel, dead at 21, woke up during her own cesarean. Maria Josefa, terrified for 10 years, dead at 25. Maria Cristina, survived because of a cushion with a hole in it. 4 women, same name, same bed, same man, and every night the same staircase, the same cloak, the same door closing behind him while a Maria prayed upstairs that he wouldn't come back. Spain still calls him El Deseado, the desired one. Nobody ever asked who desired the Marias. If you're watching this and thinking nobody told you this part, that's the point. Share it.